Hey guys, welcome back to yourrealestate101.com. Now, if you guys have not already, just make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you can turn on notification. And also, guys, if you guys have questions, you can ask me, especially if you're a landlord or if you're someone who aspires to be a landlord. Well, today's question is from Rachel. Rachel has a problem. I'm going to read what her problem is. Hold on, guys. Okay, Rachel says, my tenant changed the locks. Anyone have experience with this and recommend a locksmith who also has experience with this? Thank you. Okay, now the problem here is that you should have on your lease, number one, you should have a lease, and in that lease, it should say what should happen if a tenant changes a lock. I mean, guys, what you gotta think about and what you guys have to know is this: in your lease, you should have everything you can imagine that may come up. I mean, everything you can imagine. I mean, talk to other landlords, add everything. I remember one time I had a lease where I had all sorts of stuff on the lease, and the tenant brought a trampoline, and I never had don't put a trampoline on the property. And most insurance look down on this, on the trampoline for a rental. But guess what? That trampoline had to stay until her lease was up, and she was on a year lease. So have as much things you can imagine in your lease what will happen if something happens. Okay, and we're not perfect, but in this situation, the tenant changed the lock. If you have it on your lease, then you should tell the tenant, listen, you're gonna change the lock. Okay, give me copies of the keys. Or you can say, listen, put the lock back on. If you don't have it written down, then you can try to evict them for not following your rules. However, things can get really messy because whenever you don't have something written out, you are leaving the decision for the judge to make. I mean, and it could go any way. The tenant can come up and said she was scared, the lock that you provided wasn't working right, or something, starts crying, and the judge can go with her. Maybe, maybe not. The judge could not care. He might say, hey, look, that's his property. You don't have the right to do that. But they could also say, okay, you can change the lock for now, but since there's nothing in writing, just make sure when you move, you change the lock back. So there's a lot of things. Who knows? Who knows what the judge is going to say? But the main thing is make sure you have it in writing. Now, in her situation, let's assume she has it in writing, then she can just enforce the lease. Now, assume she doesn't have it in writing. Well, now, if she doesn't have it in writing, then what she should do, I think she should still send a letter saying, listen, you know what? The property had my lock on it. If you don't put my lock back or you don't give me a copy of the new lock, I will send a locksmith at your expense. But if the tenant does not pay for it, does not respond, continues to pay her rent like nothing, well, she might call your bluff. Are you ready to evict? And again, I keep saying this, are you ready to evict right now? These are going to be the question. This is going to be the questions you're going to have to ask yourself. Are you ready to evict someone during the COVID? And are you ready to take a chance with someone else? I mean, this is a tough situation. If the tenant is like really a bad tenant, causing trouble, then I would say, yeah, evict. If the tenant is not, I would just tell them, listen, I need a copy of the key. And I'll be honest with you, I would just look the other way at this point. Right now, because it's not, plus who's going to get to see a judge right now? You know, a lot of places there's no judge to see. The courts are closed. So I'm not going to sit here trying to make a big deal and fight a tenant under COVID because there's not that many things you can do right now. So just be happy you're even getting paid. Okay, guys, there you have it. Listen, guys, don't forget, turn on notification. subscribe, comment below. Tell me what you guys think. What do you guys think? What should Rachel do? If you guys are a landlord, maybe you guys can also help with this. What do you think Rachel should do with this tenant who just changed the lock? Now, if you guys do comment below, tell me what you would do if the tenant changed the lock and she doesn't have a lease, or if she changed the lock and she has a lease. So, okay, guys, thank you very much. Let's start a conversation.